Welcome to Chapter 9. Chapter 9, we're talking about sports promotion. This is one of the probably most visible parts of the 4 P's of the marketing mix, which is part of the reason why most people think of promotional elements as being synonymous with marketing. And we're going to talk a little bit about why that is different today. So, first of all, what is promotion? It's just one of the elements of the marketing mix. Obviously, we've talked about product in Chapter 7, price in Chapter 12, and place in the last, well, it wasn't really a chapter, but we also talked about place. This is where we talk about the part of the marketing mix is defined as a fully integrated set of communication activities intended to persuade consumers toward a favorable belief or action as a tactical component of the overall marketing campaign. And so really what we're talking about, it's the messages you're sending consumers. Within promotion, it has its own traditional mix as well. As we've seen the marketing mix being the 4 P's, the traditional mix of promotion is advertising, publicity, sales promotion, and personal selling. And so when we talk about the contemporary sport promotion mix, we're really concerned with 8 different elements. Several of those from the traditional mix. So we're looking at advertising, publicity, personal contact, incentives, atmospherics, licensing, sponsorship, and community relations. And so I'd like to briefly go through each of those in the next couple of videos, this one and one more. So let's first start with this idea of advertising. It is probably the most commonly thought of definition when people think of marketing. Part of the reason is probably because most people on an everyday basis, consumers, will see advertising, because advertising is defined as any paid form of non-personal presentation of ideas, goods, or services by an identified sponsor. In other words, a consumer sees this on a regular basis in their everyday lives. When you're driving home from work or you're driving home from school, all around you, you hear about advertising, you see advertising. A commercial on the radio. You don't hear a commercial on the radio that says, "Hey," and then insert your name. What it does say is very non-personal, and some company paid for it. And therefore, advertising is that paid form of non-personal communication. Examples is billboards, naming rights on sport facilities, signs or billboards within a sport facility itself, any type of instance where a company will spend money and not directly send a message to you, the individual consumer, and talk to you by name. That is an example of advertising. The second part of this is publicity. Publicity is very similar to advertising. However, the specific difference between advertising and publicity is that publicity is not paid. So the key to the definition of publicity is that it is not paid. However, it is any non-personal stimulation of a demand for a good, service, or business unit. In other words, how advertising and publicity are the same is that it is still not personalized. It's not a message that's sent to a specific consumer, but rather a mass group of consumers. And so advertising is paid non-personal, publicity is not paid non-personal. An example of publicity is sports information directors, and these are typically considered marketers for the team, and specifically individual sports. You see sports information directors common in college athletics. You usually see multiple. For example, at SFA, we have 3 different sports information directors, or what we consider sports information directors. And really what they do is they create information and distributes information to the media so that the media will cover. Publicity, again, is non-paid because media coverage is an example of publicity. This is also known as a term called press agentry. And so we'll talk more about SIDs in another part of this chapter. So personal contact. This is sometimes referred to as personal selling, so you'll hear it used synonymously. And this refers to any person-to-person communication. So now we're talking an individualized message. This communication involves an organizational representative and one or more current or prospective stakeholders that may achieve any number of vital promotional objectives, ranging from building goodwill to generating sales. Really, if we're looking at this, personal contact is an individualized approach. It's not mass produced. It is targeting an individual's interest and their needs and trying to meet and tailor individual products to meet those needs and wants. It also adds a human element to a transaction where you're interacting with an individual instead of an organization or a technology. Oops. So that is the first video.